is in the house. Dr. Shawne is in the house. Hey guys, how are you? Lecture night. It's Dr. Shawne from Project Forgive. What's shaking? And you had to trust that I would do a topic on trust, because tonight is about trust being a practice of self-awareness. There's no boogeyman out there to trust. And many of you know I've been traveling quite a bit and helping my family and my grandkids and all that. And it just feels so good to be home and back into lecture mode. All right, so a couple things. Tonight is all about trust. Hi, I see you guys are showing up. What's shaking? And tonight I am giving away a prize. It's a book. And it's all about Randy Gage tonight. You guys have heard me talk about this guy. I really do love this man. He challenges me. I disagree with a lot of what he says. He's a prosperity coach, but he's really a worthiness coach, if you're to really look at what he does. He talks a lot about, money and how do you have more prosperity in your life. And he's really all about worthiness. And if someone would have told me that 15 years ago that I had worthiness issues, I'd say, you're crazy. And hanging out with Randy has really provided a lot of insight around the conversation of worthiness. And his new book is out. It's called Radical Rebirth. It's backwards for you guys. Radical Rebirth. And it's actually a really good book. Here's I just pulled up one quote. It says, when your conscious mind and subconscious mind have a conflict, the subconscious mind always wins. Let me say it again. When your conscious mind and subconscious mind have a conflict, the subconscious mind always wins. And that's really the essence of tonight's lecture on the conversation of trust, because we always think, oh, I can't trust him or I can't trust her. It's inverted. It's really about, can you trust yourself to make the right choices around people being trustworthy? And Randy's book, I'm going to give one away at the end of the lecture tonight. So I hope you win, and I'll also put up a link if you when you want to get this book. He also too he focuses a lot on limited beliefs and what he calls mind viruses. And he also does a prosperity live stream. He does the Unchurch with spiritual principles that are not religious based. And I just really love the guy. So make sure you check him out. I'll put up his Facebook page. I'll put up the link for the book. And then I'll give away one of these books at the end of tonight's lecture. If you're new, I see you guys are showing up. Let's see who's showing up. Let me pick this up. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, wait, I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Hi, Marilyn. It's good to see you, too. Jeff's in the house. Yay, thank you, Connie. I am, too. I'm so glad it's finally happening. Yeah, I'm with you. Hi, Clara. Hi, Mimi's in the house. Connie, Meryl. Hi, Jennifer and Joanne. Let's see. A lot of you saying good evening. It's a Marcia or a Marcia. Hey, Barbara, what's shaking? Tina. Hi, Diane. Okay. So, Michael, you know what? I picked this topic because of you. You inspired me to do this topic. Couple things. Let me do a couple of commercials. Besides Randy's book, please check out this book. It's on Amazon. If you're new to us, tell us, because we want to say, hey, welcome. We're so glad you're here for the lecture. Inspired by our masks, we have Kindness is Contagious masks on our website. And if you're inspired by those, we'd love for you to check those out. We have a Daily Joy newsletter. If you want to get some daily joy today, joy is one of our things, man. We also got a Joy is a Habit Facebook group. I'll put up the links for that too. And I come up live pretty much every day reminding us that joy is a habit and what's one thing that's bringing you joy. Also, if you're part of a progressive company that hires virtual presenters like me and my team, we do all kinds of conversations on forgiveness in the workplace, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and looking at conversations of white privilege and systemic racism. We look at respect and conversations like that in the workplace. So if you have someone within your workplace that's in leadership development, HR, marketing, we'll put up a link to see if we can make that happen. All right, my list. Trust is a practice of self-awareness. Now, this is where it originally came up for me about trust, because I'm a media trainer. I teach high-pressure communication, and one of the things I teach is media training for corporations. And most of the time when I do these media trainings, the executives that I work with or the teammates that I work with, what comes up is like, I don't trust reporters. Oh my gosh, I don't trust reporters. They ask trick questions. Well, the thing is, they're not asking trick questions. Sometimes they're re-asking the same question because you didn't answer it or you gave a crappy answer and you're just not good at it. Believe it or not, that's 90% of the case. And they want to grab a soundbite that they can actually use. And it's not about trusting a reporter at all. It's about trusting yourself, being so present that you trust yourself that you know how to answer the next question based upon the information in this a moment right now. It's really about being present. And, where does this come from, this lack of trusting ourselves or this whole conversation of trusting people? Well, think about it. Some of us grew up in family systems. I remember my mom saying to me, I'd say, I have to go to the bathroom if we're on a road trip. No, you don't. You're fine. You can last another hour. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I really do have to go to the bathroom. Same thing with, I'm hungry. No, you're not. We just ate 2 hours ago. Anybody else experience that? My husband does this all the time. I am cold all the time. And I'll say to my husband, I'll say, oh, I need this or whatever, He says, what are you talking about? It's 70 degrees in the house. I don't care. I'm feeling cold. So he can't tell me how I'm feeling or what's going on with me. And sometimes I'll get a trigger reaction to him when he tells me that, well, it's 70 degrees or whatever. And I'm like, no, this is how I feel. Because in so many ways, we've unlearned to listen to ourselves. And that's really what trust is all about. I see you guys are joining. Wonderful. So glad you're here. I'll acknowledge in a second. Let me do a couple of conversations, then I'll see what you guys are saying. How does that work? So what gets in the way of this, which is really self-trust? This is about trusting yourself to know you'll make the right decision to trust someone else, and to listen to yourself, because this is about listening to your intuition. And it's really about self-abandonment. We abandon ourselves. And when people say they have trust issues, they're really speaking less about their trust in others and more about the ways in which you have placed your trust in others. So it's not about trusting them, it's about how you've placed your trust. Does that make sense? Because sometimes we give people the benefit of the doubt when there's red flags everywhere. And I'll make sure I put up a link. I've done some talks on red flags. It's really important that we listen to red flags. And the only way we can listen to red flags is if we're present from the next moment to the next moment to the next moment. And we become our own worst enemy versus being our own best friend when it comes to self-trust. And one of the things I've seen in some of the research when we struggle trusting ourselves, it's really about being scared of allowing ourselves to feel good. And it's a practice within yourself. It's like listening to your internal thermometer. Who overeats? Anybody here ever overeat? A lot of times we're overeating because we're not stopping and listening to our stomach. And it's about listening to ourselves. And we actually start to distort our perceptions to fit our narratives. Now, what the heck does that mean? Distorting our perceptions to fit our narratives. An example would be, you're at an intersection, somebody runs a red light, and you think, look at them. They could have hurt somebody. How selfish are they? They're so inconsiderate, putting the rest of us in danger, to shave a few seconds off their drive, right? Have you ever thought that when you've seen somebody go through a red light or like the traffic is merging and they come and sneak in? And you're like, karma sucks. But on the other hand, if you're the one that goes through the red light, you have all sorts of narratives or conclusions about how it's just an innocent mistake. Whenever I go through a red light, it's an innocent mistake. I'm like, should I go? Should I stay? Or should I go? You know the song. And sometimes when I'm coming up to a light that's yellow, I'm like, I push the gas, then I hit the brakes, and I'm like indecisive about going through that red light. And if I go through the red light, it was a mistake. And I don't give that benefit of the doubt to anyone else. I have this narrative. And it's just interesting to look at how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others. And what if we gave ourselves this kind of a benefit of a doubt and actually was able to listen moment to moment to moment about what's the next right step when we're looking at our perceptions. And it is a conversation of sabotage, and impacting your trust might look like different things for a variety of us. Like I've got some examples here. Maybe you're going through a divorce and you feel like a failure, when actually you made some mistakes. A failed marriage doesn't mean that you're a mistake or that you're a failure. You've made some mistakes. It's really that simple. What about struggling with overeating, or you're anorexic? Can you allow yourself to be a human being with an imperfect body, embracing those imperfections, and trusting yourself to work on this new perspective? Doesn't have to be perfect. That perfectionism really, really stinks. What about a student who works really hard and only gets B's and C's, and maybe he or she realizes that taking tests is not his strong suit. It's not about him being smart or not smart. Maybe taking tests is just not what's so, and instead of losing trust in yourself around taking tests. Even that whole conversation of actively ignoring your self-doubts or your self-defeating beliefs, and realizing that everything you think is not true. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. Wayne, I'll get there, okay? I love the questions that you're asking. To trust again when someone's broken your heart is a different conversation, and I'll address it tonight, okay? What about an employee who think you're struggling to meet your goals at work by a demanding boss, and you fail to deliver? And what if you just accept that you're a good person who doesn't always meet the deadlines of a really demanding boss? It's a very different way to look at yourself and trusting yourself and getting things done. Self-trust is the mindset that whatever comes your way, you'll be able to handle it. You might not know the exact answer. Like I've got some problems in my life right now that I don't know how I'm going to solve. I feel very confident, though, in trusting myself that we'll figure it out. Okay, we'll figure it out. I don't know how yet, and we'll keep brainstorming and working on it until we figure it out as a couple, like particularly with me and my husband. And it's like walking the path of faith over fear, and not having a conversation about religion at all. Hey, Linda, thanks for the stars. That's so awesome. Anytime you send us stars, you help us provide workshops for folks who can't afford it. And this conversation of self-trust is about listening to yourself for the next right step. Day by day, choice by choice. Whether it's one brave act of heroism, having a conversation you normally wouldn't have, and every time you do something brave, you're actually building your self-trust. That's what you guys are saying. What are you saying? Let me pick up. Comments. Let's see. Linda, I love it. The power of knowing you don't know. And is that okay? Can you be with not knowing? I love that. Let's see. You know, Wayne, I'm going to take this minute right now to talk about trust when someone breaks your heart. You know what's at the crux of trust again when someone breaks your heart? It's actually about grief and forgiveness. There's stages to forgiveness. I'll make sure I put them in the notes tonight. Anything I mention, I put it in the notes. Anger, shock, grief, acceptance, and peace. Hey, Jessica, thanks for the stars. And what happens when we get our heart broken in a love relationship, like what Wayne was sharing about, is we get stuck and we don't feel our grief. And we stay in anger stage, we have a hard time trusting again. It's really not about that person and trusting other people. It's about trusting yourself that when you get your heart broken, and it's inevitable, being a human being, that your heart's going to get broken, that you allow the grief to come. And we've done so many talks on the conversation of grief. And I'm not talking about suffering through stuff. I'm talking about actually grieving a loss. And grief to me is the most transformative property that exists. So it's a very different conversation. And once you start doing some grieving, when you start going back into another relationship again, Wayne, It's about listening and watching and looking for red flags, looking for things that feel good, having conversations around boundaries that if something just didn't sit right and you talk about it, how do they respond when you talk about it? This new partner. And if they respond, like if they say, oh, quit being a baby, I probably would leave that date immediately, okay? Right? Immediately. What are some other ways to start being able to handle and trust yourself for whatever comes your way? Sticking to your convictions and your boundaries. What are your boundaries? Sometimes we second guess ourselves. We set a boundary and then people are violating it and we don't know what to do. Are you checking in on yourself about why you made this boundary, why you think it's important? One of my boundaries is if you're coming to my house, you have to give me a heads up. I don't want people just showing up at my door. That's just a thing for me. And if I set the boundary with you and you keep doing it, by the third time I'm saying, I would have the straight conversation like, why do you keep showing up without giving me a heads up? I'm very, very uncomfortable with that. And I've told you, a couple of times, what's up with that? Why are you doing that? It doesn't feel good. And I'm trusting myself to have the conversation that I want to have my boundaries respected. What do you think of that? Let's see as you're listening. What are some signs that you've stopped trusting yourself? A really hard time making even small decisions. When you've lost trust with trusting yourself, you have a harder time making decisions. You also start following the pack. You start doing what everybody else is doing. Here's a great example in my field. I'm a speaker and trainer. I have an agency. A lot of my friends are going through something called Certified Virtual Speaker Training. And they're getting these certifications to put it on their websites or put it on their LinkedIn that they're a certified virtual trainer. I would never do that in a kabillion years. We have accolades, we reach millions in social, we have Emmy Awards, we even have a Nobel Peace Prize nomination. And then I think about those with these kinds of accolades, would they put on their website that they're a certified virtual trainer? No, it makes you a commodity. I wouldn't want to follow the pack. And if certain companies only hire somebody that's a certified virtual trainer, they're not my clientele. So not following the pack is an indication that you're really starting to listen to yourself. You'll also, when you're struggling to listen to yourself, you have a hard time trying new things. And, you get frozen, like with a sense of not knowing where to turn or what to do or to try something new. Also, you can feel it that your self-esteem or your worthiness is crumbling. And the best way to manage that is to surround yourself with amazing people. I even have girlfriends that when I'm having a really hard day, like yesterday was my mother's 1-year death anniversary. It was a hard day. And I called a girlfriend and just said, I need you to say wonderful, amazing things to me. Tell me how wonderful I am. Tell me what a great daughter I was the last year of my mother's life. I surround myself with amazing people, right? And Wayne, this is just an indication, like I'm experiencing some grief in this moment. And that's what grief looks like sometimes. In the present moment, in the next 10 seconds, in the next 15 seconds, what are you present to, right? And it's just grief. And I really come from the school of thought that when you allow feelings to come, they just disappear. As soon as you let them come, they disappear. Just like when you laugh, you let the full laughter come, the laughter will then disappear. It's just the way feelings work. We spend so much time trying to block down these feelings, and that's what impacts our ability to trust and trust ourselves. Let's see, what else do I got on my list? And, another thing that really helps with the self-trust is challenging yourself. And that's why I picked Randy's book today. For those that don't know yet or join later, Randy's book is Radical Rebirth. This guy is a challenger. You won't agree with everything. Who knows, you might. There might be a lot in it that you agree with. He really challenges your assumptions, your belief systems. He calls them mind viruses. I need to hang out with people like that. That's what I need. And the more that I challenge how I think or how I feel, the more capacity I have to trust myself, because I really get grounded in trusting myself. Another killer of self-trust is comparing yourself all the time. There is no hot dog down that hole. There's no hot dog, there's no cheese down the hole of comparison. It just doesn't exist. Yeah, Randy's book is called Radical Rebirth. Jessica, I'll put it at the top. As soon as this lecture is over, I'll put it at the top with the link, okay? And I'm also giving one away tonight. That comparison thing really stinks. The other one, too, is an inability to embrace change impacts our ability to trust ourselves. And that's why, like, one of the biggest bonuses of COVID is there's been so much change, not just COVID, systemic racism, the political fighting. There's been so much happening, the insurrection. So much is changing. Even how I do business. I do business now mostly virtually. I wasn't doing that before. And it's just part of trusting yourself that you're going to know what to do the next step. Even allowing yourself to make a ton of mistakes. Oh my gosh, I make a ton of mistakes every single freaking day. Right? Yeah, beautiful, Jerry Joe. I'm with you on that. Self-trust is not trusting yourself to know all the answers. Nor is it believing that you will always do the right thing. It's having the conviction or the tenacity that you'll be kind and respectful to yourself, regardless of the outcome of your efforts. It always comes back to you. It always comes back to you, and that's really where the power is. So how do you start building some self-trust? Let's see if there's anything you're saying before I start telling you how we're going to start building self-trust. Let's see. You're welcome, Jessica. Just looking. Just looking to see what you guys are saying. You guys are sweet. Big hugs, lots of hugs there. Hey, Joe, what's shaking? Just looking to see if there's something I need to address. Nope, no questions or thoughts that I need to address at the moment. Okay, perfect. So here we are in this conversation that there's no one, that it's a myth to think that you can't trust him. It's more about trusting yourself. Doesn't mean you're not in conversation going to say, oh, be careful, that plumber, when he comes, he is going to, take your deposit and not finish the job, okay? I could argue that's a conversation of trust. Do you trust your neighbor who gave you that advice? To me, that falls in the conversation of good gossip. Like, good gossip can be used as a warning system. So how do you build that self-trust? A lot of it comes from allowing yourself simple pleasures daily. When you treat yourself with kindness and respect, you're actually building self-trust that you have value and that you matter. Today, this is how I did it. I made ribs today. I haven't made ribs in a while. I made ribs on Christmas. That was my husband loves ribs. And I says, oh, what a pleasure to make some ribs. So I made some ribs today out of pure, exquisite pleasure. That was the only reason. And I knew that my husband, I hit a button here, sorry. I knew that my husband would be thrilled and excited. He's been working so hard. He's doing these good fat bars and he's in the kitchen. He's been just very physical manual labor. He's been so busy. And knowing that what you feel or may not feel isn't always accurate. It's something I alluded to earlier. I'm going to give you an example about embracing your humanity in this conversation of trust. So here's an example. I came home from Florida. Okay, I was in Florida. Everybody's doing great. We were COVID tested twice. I mean, everything that could go wrong for the last 3 weeks has. And I was just so happy to be home. And I had all kinds of luggage in the foyer, and then I had my suitcase in the bedroom, and it was kind of blocking the walkway path in the bedroom. I put everything away in the living room, and I left my suitcase open, half emptied. I didn't finish emptying it out. And I don't know what I was doing. I was reading or doing something, watching Netflix, and my husband walks by, and he kicks the luggage. This is my experience. I just got home. I just drove 24 hours. I got 99% of the stuff put away, and you're going to be angry and kick the luggage? And this is about conflict resolution too, because I'm committed to being close in my relationship. I'm committed to intimacy. I'm committed to exploring. I'm committed to relieving blame and not having conversations of blame. So I could approach that conversation with my husband and said, how dare you? I can't believe you just kicked the suitcase, blah, blah. That's not what I did. I sat and thought with it a little bit to see, how do I want to talk about this, especially feeling a little triggered by it or a little hooked. If I took ownership of how I'm feeling, how can I have this conversation and trust myself that will come together? Okay? Because there's a couple ways that could have gone. I could have blamed him. He could have got mad. We might not have talked for a couple hours, blah, blah, blah. You're following my line of logic, right? So what I said to him, and these are the kinds of techniques that we teach in corporations, is I let him know, I says, you know, can I tell you something that's really got me hooked? And I made some assumptions and I'd like to talk about it a little bit and see what you're thinking about it. He's like, sure, what's going on? Much more approachable, non-defensive approach, right? Instead of saying, what did you do, you jerk? So I said, you know, the other night when you kicked the suitcase and I just made it mean. I assumed that you made it mean that you were angry at me, that I was lazy, that I didn't put everything away, and I was selfish. And he looks at me and he just started laughing. And he said, oh my gosh, not even close. I didn't even think that at all. He said my hand was full or whatever his reason was, and I pushed it. I didn't mean to kick it as hard as I kicked it. But no, none of that stuff even entered my mind or even dawned on me. So we alleviated the process of having to forgive each other out of the gate because I chose to trust myself in how I was going to talk to him about this, right? And no, I didn't jump up and put it away. No, I'm with you. But does that make sense? This is complicated and it's not. This is complicated and it's not. So that's just another thing to do, is like giving someone the benefit of the doubt, especially someone you're in a relationship with that you care about, and letting them know, like, hey, something happened for me. I want to check it out with you. I made some assumptions. I just want to see what's really going on here, because this is what I made it mean. And then you go on and explain, and then we kissy and everything's lovely. You know, and I even got a chuckle out of it, right? No, nothing to forgive. And I do believe 99% of forgiveness work is avoiding the dilemmas in communication. I really do, okay? All right, what else can you do to start building some self-trust? Listing your successes. I love listing my successes. I love making appreciation lists or sharing what I'm appreciative about. What else do you like about yourself? Big thing about self-trust is honoring your emotions. Are you honoring your emotions? And sometimes we don't want to feel these feelings because we think it means something, when actually, to me, feelings are visitors that come and go. You've seen the poster, right? Feelings are visitors that come and go. And feeling is just a feeling. Can you imagine if you farted? Let's use farting as an example. Just because you farted and it stinks for 10 seconds or 30 seconds, depending on how bad the fart is, okay? Bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying. Can you imagine if you farted and then you think about yourself all day long, that, boy, I'm so stinky. What a stinky person I am. All day long, you have those mindsets and those thoughts that you're a stinky person, right? Right? One of the things I saw a great exercise in a recovery toolbox that I'm going to put the link up for it. It's an exercise to help you challenge your belief systems, and when you're feeling like a failure, to actually create and recreate self-trust. And I loved the activity. I thought it was exquisite, so I'll make sure that I put it up here. What are you thinking? What are you doing? What you knowing? What you think? Yeah, I see you. Yeah, I'm with you. It is so important to assume good intentions. It is. And then also, though, Michael, let's say you come from that place, because I come from that place of good intentions. If something's weird, though, if something's off, I pay attention to that. I want to be someone who sees the good in everybody and sees the good intentions. But sometimes my gut goes, there's something weird there. And I don't have to make an assessment at that time. I just put it to the side and say, okay, pay attention to that, because some really listen to that. What else? Hey, Penny, I'm glad you're here. And you know what, Michael? It's more about giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, and trusting yourself. I'm going to trust myself that feels a little off. I don't know why. I just know that it does. And I'll keep evaluating. And let's see if other things happen that have me not want to play. Like on LinkedIn today, I got an in-mail message from someone says, we want you to come in and speak, from Raymond James or some kind of financial group. And I'm like, cool. That's how I get a lot of my leads when I speak, is on LinkedIn. And he said, I just need 15 minutes of your time. There's no cost involved. And that was it. I'm like thinking, well, that's weird. You're going to hire a speaker. There's no cost involved. He's doing leads. He's looking for a lead to sell money services. I have zero interest. I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm still going to be kind. And I'm going to respond appropriately to what my gut says. And I don't remember his name. I'm just like, hey, thanks for connecting or for reaching out. We are an agency and our speakers are hired for training and events. Is that what you're looking for, to hire a speaker or a trainer? ? And I haven't heard from him. I don't expect that I will. And it felt really good to trust my gut. And could I evaluate it and say he's a non-trustworthy person? I could. But you know what? People are doing the best they can. So what if he was doing that? I caught what felt uncomfortable for me. I trust myself. Right? Have sometimes I've been scammed? Absolutely. And I always chalk those up as learning lessons too. I had a chiropractor that I worked with 20 years ago. I got so scammed. I invested tens of thousands of dollars. And I knew a month in that this was not going to work. And I had a couple days of being really angry at him. And then I was able to let that go and say, okay, what valuable lessons can I get here? I haven't been scammed since. Because I'm cognizant. I'm trusting myself. When there's red flags, I can see them. Right? Great way to look at that. Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, fishy is a great way to put it. And I don't want to make them bad and wrong, right? All right, here you go, Sandra. How do you trust yourself with family members? If we can't go by our feelings, and how do you know when you trust yourself? I need you to say more, Sandra, because some of our family members don't have our best interests at heart. So if I have a family member, when I share something, I was watching, all right, here, I'll use an example of a show, Silent Witness. I love crime shows, and Silent Witness is a show I'm watching right now, and I love this gal who's the ME, the medical examiner. She's just wonderful. And her sister, through this episode that I watched, just kept jabbing her, and kept like blaming her for the reason her dad died. Their dad died because he was in a bomb, or it was some kind of bomb. But somehow the sister keeps blaming the main character that it's her fault that the dad died. And it's ridiculous. And at the end of the episode, the main character, I can't think of her name, Dr. Sam is her name. She says, you know what? One of the things I've noticed is I let you say things to me, my sister, even though it hurts. When you blame me for Dad's death constantly, it hurts my heart. And a lot of the reasons why I let that be okay is because I love you. And one of the things I decided this past couple of days is you don't get to say that to me anymore. It hurts so bad, it's inaccurate. Do some of your forgiveness work. You don't get to talk to me like that anymore. And the other sister was very touched. Now, do I wish boundaries worked that way and that you say it one time and it's handled? They don't. Okay, so now her forwarding forgiveness work and boundary work and trusting herself work is going to be when her sister goes into that habit, because her sister's going to go into the habit of blaming her. She can stop her midstream. Nope, I already let you know. I have zero tolerance for that. If you're going to continue, I'm going to hang up the phone. If you're going to continue, I have to leave, because it's intolerable to be talked to like that ever again. It's not going to work. So I need you to stop. Would you be willing to stop? And then that person can choose. And as you're saying this in communication, it's trusting yourself as you're talking and what feels right to say. Because I've like had a conversation in my head, like, how am I going to have this conversation with someone? And I think it all out, and then I go to do it, and it's nothing like what I thought. And it's still very conscious. It's still very moment to moment. Something more beautiful comes out of my mouth in connecting, with the focus being on intimacy. Let's see. Oh, that's a great question, Sandra. That's perfect. Not to be hurt by her, or your sister who now wants to mend the relationship. You take it very, very slowly, because it's inevitable that she's going to hurt you. She doesn't have new patterns or you haven't trained her in new ways to speak to her, to have how she wanted to speak to you. So it's going to take some time, and it takes some investment, and do it little by little in increments. It doesn't mean automatically like, oh, she hurt me deeply, now she wants to mend the relationship, and we're going to go away on a vacation for 7 days. No. Right? Start off slow, like maybe going on Zoom and doing a puzzle together for 30 minutes, okay? You can take it incrementally and listen to yourself and trust yourself as you move along when it's time to add or subtract time. Make sense? It's a great question, Sandra. I love how you did that. Yeah, Linda, you're spot on about you can forgive and not trust someone. And not, totally get that. I love that. Yep, we've had those conversations. Perfect. Nice, so honestly, let me see if I'm catching something from someone that's saying something that I need to say or need to acknowledge. I think that's good. Okay. Great topic, huh? Okay, who's ready to win a book? Who's ready? Who's ready? All right, the gift tonight, before I close, Radical Rebirth. This is from Randy Gage. I'll be sure any notes that I take or have said, I'll put them up right when this thing's over. I'll give you a link to buy his book. Next week, just so you know, I'm going to focus on the silent treatment. I've gotten a lot of requests around what do you do with the silent treatment? What is the impact? What are the impacts of a silent treatment? So next week, we're going to talk about silent treatment. And here's what I want you to do. To win this book, and it's no random order, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I'm going to tell you a phrase to say, and the first phrase that I tell you to say that shows up in my feed is the winner. Unfortunately, you have to be in the U.S., so we ship only to the U.S., okay? And so here's the phrase. You ready? I want you to type in the title of the book, Radical Rebirth. Radical Rebirth. And if it's spelled wrong, I don't care. You don't have to be perfect. First person to put Radical Rebirth in the comments is, oh, you're a huge Randy Gage fan, Allie. That's Ali or Ali. That's awesome. Oh, thank you for the stars. I love Randy. Randy's my coach. Clara, it's you. It's you, Clara. It's you, it's you, it's you. So all you got to do is message me here on Facebook with your address, your U.S. address. Make sure you put your email in there so you can track the shipping, because shipping is so wonky right now, right? Appreciate you guys playing the game. Silent treatments next week. Thank you, Randy Gage. We love you. Thank you, AgapΩ, for all your support. Just, you know, AgapΩ is a page that supports us. They're more religious-based, and Project Forgive is non-religious and non-partisan. So if you need some spiritual pick-me-ups, I love AgapΩ for that, because they do a lot on prayer and spirituality, so I like them. And they're a huge supporter of ours, so check out their page. I'll be sure to put the link up. And if you find this broadcast helpful, please share it. You deeply support us with our partners and our corporations like General Motors. That really supports the conversations that we create around forgiveness in the workplace. And look at everybody congratulating you, Clara. How awesome. Thank you for the stars. That's so awesome. And that's it, huh? Trust yourself. There's nobody out there, you know, that conversation of trusting others, great, I get it. And it really is about trusting yourself and listening to yourself. You are so welcome, Rini. Big loves. Good night. Sleep well too, Lynn. Talk to you guys soon. All right. See you tomorrow for joyful moments. Yeah. You're welcome. Hey, Laura. Take care. Bye-bye.